What's up, everyone? This is RJ from Game News USA, back today with another top 10 list. And today, we're going to go over the top 10 PS1 games. So if you're new to the channel, please remember to hit the subscribe button, like, share the video, and comment below your thoughts on your favorite PS1 games. So let's jump into it. For those of you who are too young or unaware of the PlayStation 1, it is a system that came out in the mid-90s that started to rival Nintendo and Sega, and it was a pretty big deal. And immediately out of the gate, tripled the sales of the N64, ended up selling over 100 million copies. I had one as well, even though I was a Nintendo kid and still preferred to play my Nintendo 64. There were some cult classics on there that I also enjoyed, but these would have to be the top 10 PS1 games. They're not necessarily exclusives. Most of them can only be played on the PS1, though. And in that era, that's just how things were, even if a third party came in, for the most part. So with that being said, we may not always agree on what the list should be, but this is just my list of top 10 PS1 games, so let's jump right into it. Number 10 is Tomb Raider. You know, the boobs may have been triangular, but, you know, obviously, it's a game we all enjoyed. And, you know, I've enjoyed the reboots quite a bit. But obviously, when you go back to the old Tomb Raider, there's just a familiar, nostalgic feeling that game gets. And that a lot of these games on the list get. So, we're going to go over them today. Number 9, Tekken 3. You know, when you transition from 2D to 3D, there's a lot of things that don't quite work out so right. Fighting games is usually one of them. I'm not a huge fan of the 3D fighting games whenever they started their transition from 2D to 3D. But Tekken 3 is a great example of a fighting game that did it right, and it was a really great PS1 fighting game. And so I had to include it on the list. Number 8, Gran Turismo 2. By today's standards, the graphics are very poor, but by those standards, you would look at the graphics of Gran Turismo 2 and think, my God, could graphics ever get any better than this? Well, the answer was yes. But Gran Turismo 2 was graphically impressive for the time. It was really fun to play. And I had to include a racer on this list. Number 7, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. Who didn't love playing Tony Hawk, the skateboard game? You would just skate around and fuck around and have fun. I mean, I know I did. I hope you all experienced that too. Number 6 on the list, Resident Evil 2. You know, just recently remade not too long ago. Resident Evil 2 has to be one of the best Resident Evil games, period. And so I had to include it on the list at number 6. So, number 5, Metal Gear Solid. Recently, developers came out and said it would actually be harder to remake Metal Gear Solid in the modern era than it would be Snake Eater. I press X to doubt on that, but that's what they say. But this game truly was a genre-defining, brand new IP that people could jump in and enjoy on the PS1. And it is led to the Metal Gear that we know and love today. So, gotta give big props to Metal Gear. That's something you probably would have never seen on a Nintendo system. So, PlayStation made lots of great contributions to gaming. And Metal Gear is just one of those things that helped. Number 4 on the list, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. If you guys know anything about me and how I feel about the Castlevania series, you know that Castlevania Symphony of the Night is one of my favorites. It's super enjoyable, and even though it's a 2D game playing on what many consider a 3D system, it still showed that those games matter, and those games are still important, even in the era of 3D, because that game was just super phenomenal, and definitely deserves to be on this list at number 4. Number 3, Crash Bandicoot Warped. I could have put any of the Crash Bandicoot games on there. I chose this one. I really love platformers, and Crash Bandicoot is one of the best platformers, besides Mario, of course. Because besides Mario, you got your Kirby, you got your Rayman, you got your Mega Man, but Crash Bandicoot definitely belongs in that conversation, and that is why it is number 3 on the list, particularly Warped. I found that to be the best of the trilogy. Speaking of trilogies, number 2 on the list, Spyro the Dragon. I mean, look, I like all 3 of the games, honestly. Take your pick. Like them all. Play them all together. I like Spyro just a little more than I ever did Crash. It is the thumbnail of this video, even though it's not number 1. But Spyro the Dragon, number 2. Very much enjoyed that game. It also even has a little skateboarding section in there, too, ironically. But I thought the character was great. I thought the levels were great. You know, there's a little more than just the platforming that, like, Crash Bandicoot has, for example. There's a lot more exploration involved as well. Made it more Super Mario 64-like. And so it was pretty open world as well for the time, I would say. So, very much enjoyed that. And that brings us to number 1 on the list, which is Final Fantasy VII. Truly, truly, not only the best PlayStation 1 game, not only the best Final Fantasy game, but it really shifted the market from Nintendo to PlayStation, because up to that point, Nintendo had always had Final Fantasy. And when Final Fantasy VII didn't come to the N64 and it came to the PS1, everybody knew this was a changing of the guard right then and there. And it really was. And if you truly look at the PlayStation sales since then, the PS1 outsold the N64 3-1. The PS2 outsold the GameCube like 6-1. The PS3 did not outsell the Wii, but it came close. The PS4, almost 10-1 outsold the Wii U. And the PS5 is running at a super fast clip right now. So it was truly like a changing of the guard there on who was number 1 in the industry as far as console sales go. And so Final Fantasy VII had a lot to do with it. But it wasn't just that. The game was also pretty fucking good. Also, you know. And I know some of y'all prefer the remake version or the new version. Give me the old school. Give me the turn-based. Old man yelling at Cloud. Literally, old man yelling at Cloud, if you get my reference. Final Fantasy VII is legendary. It's one of the best games of that decade. It's the best Final Fantasy. And, in my opinion, the best PS1 game. So, guys, with that being said, that is the list. Let me know below your favorite PS1 game. Croc is another personal favorite of mine that I didn't bother to put on the list, but I just wanted to mention it real quick. Thank you all for watching. Peace. Have a good one. I'm out.